Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. I'm very excited to be joined by David Bodanis, who is the author of The Art of Fairness, The Power of Decency in a World Turned Mean. And I couldn't agree more with that line. It is very, very true. And the book has received some pretty amazing accolades, which is exciting because David is a Chicago native, has traveled the world. So he's certainly seen nice people, mean people, and all that. So he knows a thing or two about this topic. David, welcome to the program.
Thank you very much, sir.
It's a pleasure to have you. I know that you studied math, physics, history at the University of Chicago. And so I'm just curious, what are some of your life experiences as I look to get to know the person behind the microphone that led to writing this book, The Art of Fairness, The Power of Decency in a World Turned Mean?
I was startled when I've had various jobs. In Chicago, I had all sorts of part-time jobs. And then when I traveled, I worked in big organizations like Shell Oil and also small organizations. I worked at Oxford University and a whole bunch of places. And I found that in many organizations, there were people who were really nice. The famous nice guy usually didn't get very far. They got crushed. The famous line, nice guys finish last. It's kind of true. It's a shame. It'd be lovely if it weren't the case. But if one's purely polite and really just kind and considerate to absolutely everybody, if that's all you do, other people tend to push past you. And then I noticed there's in almost every organization I've been in, there have been some real jerks who've made it to the top. People who bully and yell and brag and stuff and push their weight around. And the thing is, it often works. If two people are walking to a taxi together and you arrive at the same time, or you are slightly first, if the other person insists on getting in, unless you throw them to the ground, they're going to win. So the bully often wins. So I realized that being too soft doesn't get you very far, and being a bully can get you pretty far. There have been some famous business heads who've been just really harsh characters, and we know that can work. But the question is, and this is what I was always driven by, is there something in between? Is there a beautiful golden mean? Is there like, can you thread the needle where you can be kind of like firm but fair? Is there a way that you can rise high up, not just as a soft high school teacher or whatever, but in really a tough competitive business world where like a lot of money is at stake or a lot of resources, and still kind of keep your soul? And I thought, well, if I think about it and tell you my answer, they might say, yeah, very nice, Bodanis. He's one quiet writer sitting in his study. So I thought what I need to do is go into the real world. So I spent time hanging out with some businesses and law firms and elite military groups and surgeons and just a whole bunch of organizations. And I ended up with about 5 or 10 stories of people who actually succeeded that middle way. And I thought, let me write that up. And that's the book.
Well, I will tell you that, David, I come across people all the time that ask the question of, can you succeed without being a jerk? And the reality is that when you look at the world, many of the more dominant people, the people that you look at, whether, especially when you look at, when you follow the media and you see some of the big names out there, I don't know why I'm thinking of this, but the people that are firing off into outer space right now, many of them have that massive personality. And I love the word fairness. I think that that's important. So again, chatting with the author of this fantastic read, The Art of Fairness. I'm chatting with David Bodanis, who grew up in Chicago, and certainly Chicago will always be home, right? But I'm particularly interested in the way that fairness plays into productivity as well. And in the intro to your book, you talk about the BioNTech and the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, which is a miracle story, a true success story of how it is saving lives and how it came together so quickly. And you actually have remarkably told that story of how fairness actually ties into it. Can you share that a little bit about that with our listeners?
Sure, totally. So, vaccines often traditionally would take 5 years or 10 years to make and test and stuff. And the famous COVID vaccines were quick. They were really, really quick. And the one of the first ones to market was the one created by BioNTech in Germany, which later was marketed and produced by Pfizer. And the couple behind it were a German couple of Turkish background. One a married couple. One was born in Turkey. The other was a child of immigrants. And they were a blue-collar background. The dad of one of them had worked on the assembly line at a Ford motor plant in Germany. They were ordinary people with good values. And they were head of this small biotech startup. And there was going to be a race going on around the world starting, a bit more than a year ago, starting 2 years ago, once the news came out about the virus in China, who was going to make the vaccine. And there are a lot of organizations that we know what we're going to do. We're going to have everybody sign non-disclosure agreements, and we're going to be brutal, and we're going to have really top-down harsh control. It's going to be military procedures. And the thing is, if you've ever been bossed around at an office, if the boss is really powerful, you'll shut up and do what they want, but all they get coming back is resentment. On the other hand, if you have a boss who enables you and respects you, they can't be softies. They have to be aware that some people will take advantage. So they need, some auditing and controls. But if on the whole they're fair to you, what they get back when they give a generosity to you, they get gratitude coming back. And gratitude is wonderful. They get gratitude and they get initiative. So that's exactly what happened in BioNTech when they were working on this vaccine for the messenger RNA style vaccine. The guys who were running it, the couple who were running it, were smart and educated. You cannot make a vaccine like that on your own. And the thing is, you can't make a good vaccine like that if everybody else under you simply follows your orders. You need a lot of initiative. In fact, the RNA is such a messenger RNA is such a delicate molecule that if somebody takes their gloves off, they can contaminate it, a sample in a lab. So you need all the technicians have to want to help. Maybe the technicians can find a way to clarify that. Anyway, so they got buy-in, everybody helped them.
Yeah, I'm fascinated by this and the power, as you say, the power of decency in a world turned mean, and it certainly is producing life-changing and life-saving outcomes. So again, I'm chatting with the author of The Art of Fairness, The Power of Decency in a World Turned Mean. I have to squeeze in a very quick break, but I have so many more questions for David Bodanis when we return after this quick break on the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We'll be right back, so don't touch that dial. I'm going to share with you the best read for entrepreneurs, for small business owners, and that is The Art of Fairness, The Power of Decency in a World Turned Mean. I preach about this endlessly to anybody who's willing to listen, that there is power of moderation. That's the word I always use, of being somewhere, as David Bodanis has been saying, of being somewhere in the middle, that you don't need to be a jerk in order to be successful, but at the same time, you also don't need to be a pushover as well. So again, his book is The Art of Fairness, The Power of Decency in a World Turned Mean. And we've been talking about some of those examples, but no doubt all of our listeners, all of you amazing small business owners, entrepreneurs that are out there are hearing about this New York Times best-selling author and wondering, what's the takeaway for me and my small business? So David, again, welcome back. What can our small business owners put into action in this new year of 2022?
I think there's three things that have come up over and over around the world, and especially in the US and the UK that I focus on. Three things that make businesses of almost any size, but very much the small size, work really well. And the first one is to listen without ego. You have to listen to what's going on, and you have to be willing to put your ego to the side. Yes, you might be the founder, you might have the idea for it, but there's going to be other people around you, people marketing who are right on the cutting edge with customers. You have to be willing to listen to them and genuinely put your ego to the side. There's that phrase you can say, oh, yes, but. No, don't do the yes, but. Say yes, and. Really listen. Once you finish listening, remember, you can't be a pushover. You have to make a firm executive decision. But at that first stage, listen without ego and then make your decision. The next thing that's really important is to give by letting others give. We mentioned earlier that if you're like really bully, you do this, you do that. And it's true, in an emergency, you have to do that. You have to shout out orders. That's the way things work. Or if you're bleeding cash, you have to do things. But if you can give by letting others give, you're empowering them. They come back with generosity. People want to come back with good, fresh ideas. Again, at the very end, you will have to make your decisions about, which you follow. You also have to have some street smarts. All the people who are successful in this way, they listen without ego. They give by letting others give. They also have street smarts. They make sure that you audit properly, that nobody takes advantage. And then the third thing that works really well is to defend by not over-defending. So yeah, you have to make sure that people don't steal your intellectual property, or they don't mess with your distributing network. You have to defend the boundaries of your company and your organization. But if you're obsessive about it, if all you do is go about, oh, those awful outsiders, they're all terrible, you'll never do joint ventures, you'll never do alliances, and also you'll be closed to opportunities or fresh ideas from outside. Steve Ballmer ran Microsoft from 2000 to 2014 when it was a colossus. And when the first iPhone came out, Steve Ballmer said, this is stupid. It doesn't even have a keyboard. You can't send faxes on it. Well, it turns out people are often wrong in tech, but worse than that, he made sure that nobody at all in Microsoft interacted with Apple and developed ideas for this. His successor, Satya Nadella, has taken Microsoft from a mid-level firm to right up near the top. And one of the things is he defended by not over-defending. Yes, of course, they have to be careful about lawsuits and people stealing and stuff from them, but he also encourages people to think the best of the outside world. What can we learn from them?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's definitely is the power of decency in a world turned mean. There definitely is definitely substantial takeaways and outcomes for everybody tuning in to this program. And I hope that, we passed the season of gift giving, but there's always an opportunity to make a difference in a fellow entrepreneur's life. And I would strongly encourage you to pick up a copy of this book, The Art of Fairness. After you finish reading it, share it with somebody else. Pay it forward. Be fair. That's what it's all about. Again, I've been chatting with David Bodanis, and I want to make sure all of our listeners know where they can get in touch with you and find a copy of the book. David, how can they reach you?
For a book, the best one is my friend Jeff Bezos' little company, which you may have heard of, named, is it Mississippi? No, Amazon. So Amazon's great. It's on sale and well distributed in America. Otherwise, I have a website with the shocking name, davidbodanis.com. I don't always respond to emails daily, but I respond pretty frequently. And I've loved the back and forth. And I like the idea that these days, a book isn't a finite thing that ends. Readers come in with ideas which get incorporated in future editions. It's kind of a back and forth. It's really satisfying.
davidbodanis.com, and definitely pick up a copy of The Art of Fairness. Just look for it on Amazon. It's a great read and a great gift for fellow entrepreneurs. You've been listening to the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. What a great conversation. Get on my website, shalomklein.com. That's where you can download the past 8+ years of shows and some fantastic listens. We'll be back next Sunday at 6 p.m. right here on AM 560, The Answer to Success. Let's get down to business.